Hey guys, welcome back to another Reddit video. Today we're doing 1 hour of Reddit confessions. So stay tuned. There's a lot of interesting confessions in this video. So enjoy.
I watched a school fight so brutal that the loser ended up in a hospital and I was laughing. So a kid at my middle school had beef with another kid. It was just your normal middle school stuff until the mom of one of the kids died. I don't remember exactly how, but she got really sick. For the sake of this story, I will call them Nico and Steve. Steve wasn't really doing well after his mother passed and tried to avoid people for a while, and we only found out a few days later about his mom. When Nico hears about this, instead of putting the beef on hold, he proceeds to insult Steve and then his dead mom. Steve was sick of Nico, but that was the last straw for him. He told him to meet him at lunch to fight. So the news goes around school that there's gonna be a fight at lunch. The details and the cause of the fight were generally unknown, but everyone just assumed that it was just them beefing like normal. So we all, half the school, gather in a giant circle around the two in the lunchroom. No one could get to the center of it because of the size. So they start the fight and Steve starts winning as he is a boxer and beats him. But then, when the fight was already won, he didn't stop. He was kicking him in the side and punching him in the back of the head while he was on the ground. No one was going to stop it, and I couldn't help but laugh at Nico. At this point, he was missing a tooth, busted lip, crying, the whole deal, and he fucking deserved it. I hate when people kick someone while they're down, but this was, to me at least, an exception. This was the bad part though. Nico tried crawling into the crown, but then Steve grabbed him by the hair and started bashing his face into the floor prison movie style. This was when we stopped the fight and Nico would not get up. We thought that Steve killed him for a second, and if we didn't stop the fight he definitely would have. The aftermath was brutal. Nico had 3 lost teeth, a busted lip, a concussion, a broken nose, and probably some other problems. The poor janitor had to clean up about a liter of blood from Nico, and Stevie was never seen again by any of us. Nico spent a while in the hospital and is now mocked endlessly to this day, and I don't feel bad for him in the slightest.
I slapped a child in the face and then shoved him off his scooter. I'm 25. So I have a beloved kitty named Pixie. She was around 4 when I found her on the street. She had a rubber band tightened on half her tail. I spent 2 weeks feeding her until she was comfortable enough to let me near her. She didn't trust anyone. I took her in, cleaned her up, and got the dead portion of her tail amputated. After 5 years, she finally warmed up to people and she became so sweet and friendly. It took her years to be comfortable around strangers. Last month, she was out for her daily stroll around the neighborhood and immediately came back in through the kitty door 20 minutes later. Usually she is out and about for 2 to 3 hours. She had 2 small holes in her chest, and 1 near her butt. She was completely frightened and was crying, meowing. She wouldn't even let me go near her for the first 5 minutes. I knew for certain that she was shot with metal BBs. I take her in my car and start driving to the vet, but took a quick detour around the neighborhood. I was going to take the long way to see if I could find the culprit. Sure enough, I see a kid on a scooter standing on his driveway, with a CO2-powered BB gun, aiming in the drainage cavity by the sidewalk. I see cats in there all the time. It was then I knew who the culprit was. I parked the car, got out, walked over to him and said, "I'm telling your parents that you are shooting cats." He replied, "They are pests. They told me I could." The smug little look on his face threw me over the edge. I slapped the f*** out of this bitch and kick-sweeped his legs out from under him and watched him fall flat on his ass. I then picked up his gun and smashed it on the ground. A small part of me wanted to finish him off with a stomach kick for good measure, but I'm f***ing 25, so I looked both ways before crossing the street, and f***ing bolted. As I hopped in my car and sped away, I heard him shrieking in the distance. My kitty was treated, and is doing okay. She is a lot more skittish and spends less time outside.
I ate 3 whole onions, sautéed with salt and pepper, for dinner last night, and my farts are unfathomably disgusting. I am not joking. This is serious shit. I almost puked because my toots smell so bad. Listen, I'm not a psychopath. I just needed to use up some onions. In my defense, I had some steak with it too. Steak and onions, not a bad combo, right? I flew too close to the sun. Too many onions. I made the mistake of sitting on the couch and farting. Now the place where I sat reeks of high hell. I'm surprised I didn't melt a hole through the fabric. I've been trying to fart outside on my balcony to keep from just blowing shit Febreze in my flat. Now I'm sitting in my office chair and trying not to gag. I'm not squeamish, especially not with my own farts. This is different. Too many onions. My whole apartment smells like a cross between an outhouse and a paper mill with a dash of rotten egg and diarrhea sprinkles. Why did I do this to myself? I was a fool. Nay, I am a fool. I don't even want to think about the torrent of ass lava that I'll be subjected to tomorrow morning. I'm going to have animal control at my door thinking a family of possums died in the vents. How will I be able to tell my girlfriend that I can't come see her because I have putrid onion gas? This is a lamentable misstep on my part, I ate God's ass apple and now I'm paying the poo-poo price. Too many onions. Update, as predicted, I did a world-ending dump that left my legs trembling and gave me what I can only describe as the shit sweats. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that the malignant stench my shit left is clinging to the walls like cigar smoke, except the cigar is just a turd. I was naive enough to leave my hand towel in the bathroom while I did the dark deed and it will now need to be burned. It absorbed the ass fumes like a greedy little sponge. Evacuating this demon crap from my body tired me out to the point of needing a nap afterwards. I'll be getting in touch with a local priest in hopes of getting my shitter blessed. I looked into the eyes of God and found only poo. Hell is real and it can be purchased for about $1.25 per pound. What's your most shameful NSFW moment? I was 18. Came home very drunk from a night out and hopped into bed with my then girlfriend. Fortunately for me, she woke up and was keen to fool around. Me being in the state I was in, didn't have time for lubricant or aiming and went in hard and fast. The first and only push led to what I can only imagine as the equivalent of snapping your Achilles tendon, except this tendon wasn't located on my leg. It was in fact my frenulum. Google it. Instantly, I panicked. I turned the light on and told my ex to hang on. I looked down to see that I had basically snapped my banjo string in half and essentially given myself a DIY circumcision. There was a lot of blood. I played it cool. My gut instinct was to run to the bathroom. Once I made it here, I wrapped my willy up in toilet paper like Tutankhamun, emptied out the toothbrush cup holder, filled it with warm water and stuck my willy in the cup to try to cool it down. It hurt. By this time, I'd lost a fair amount of blood and me being me tried to sit down on the side of the bath to try not to pass out. Didn't work. Anyway, long story short, I woke up to my ex-girlfriend's dad standing over me at 7 a.m. in the morning after he had followed a trail of blood down the hallway to where he would normally take his morning shower. There I was, laying in the bathtub, passed out, willy wrapped up in toilet paper, shoved inside his toothbrush cup holder, naked as the day I was born, covered in blood. My partner at the time fell back asleep after I'd left the bedroom that night, and left her poor father to find me blackout drunk in his bathtub after trying to bang his daughter. He thought I was dead. I wished I was.
I got a girl kicked out of school on the worst day of her life. So I went to this really strict prep school when I was 13. And there was this girl, we will call her L. Well, L was a bitch, and she massively bullied my best friends for being a little overweight, and would throw food at her and say bad things. Well, one day, she humiliated her in front of our whole class, and I decided I'd get revenge. Our chemistry class had a really strict teacher. One day, that teacher asked me to go to the teacher's lounge and make copies of a worksheet for her. So I'm in there waiting for the copies, and I find our final exam answer while I'm in there. So I took them and made a couple copies, then put them back. The next day, I snuck to where Elle left her backpack, and I put the copies in there and an envelope with $30 in her backpack. I ran to the teachers and told them I saw Elle selling exam answers. That teacher told me to get Elle and bring her to them. When I went to class, I couldn't find her anywhere. So I asked her friend, and the friend says she's in the bathroom crying. Her dad has cancer and just found out he died, and so I start freaking out and try to go back to the teacher and explain, but I was too late. She had found Elle and told her she was expelled. So yup, her dad died, and she got expelled for something she didn't do.
Confession, my dad and sister's relationship. I've been quiet about this for a few years, but it's Reddit, so I don't give a shit. When I was 9, I walked into my parents' room to ask my mom a question and I heard moaning and the bed creaking, which I was used to, since my parents did it a lot, so I went to the kitchen and my mom was standing right there. My heart dropped, and I asked where my dad and sister were. She's 19, also I don't want to say either of their names so I don't expose their identities, and she told me he was helping her with a project. Recently, I got mono and stayed home. My dad is retired, my sister is a college dropout, and my mom is a full-time lawyer, so we were all home except for my mom. I wanted to see if my dad and sister still do the deed after all these years, so I told them I was going on a walk and shut the door. I went back in through the back door and they were doing it on the sofa. Girl, when I tell you I ran. Update, important. The reason I didn't come forward before posting this was because I didn't realize that my sister might be being abused by my father. I assumed she enjoyed what she had been doing with my father, but I'll try to say something to her about it and I will update you guys. My father is a very violent person, and if he even found out that I knew, I would probably end up in the hospital. The only person I'm close with in my family is my mom, and when she's angry she goes hysterical. I know keeping quiet is a bad thing, but coming from someone with two physically and mentally abusive parents, it's scary.
I found out that my fiancé and I are related. I'm not sure how to deal with this. To make a very long story short, my mother had me very young. She was 16 and her boyfriend was 14. My grandparents were incredibly pissed at her and sent her to her aunt and uncles to have the baby in another state. A few months later I was born, and not long after my grandparents moved to join my mom in my home state. My mom never heard from my dad again, and at the time, it was much harder for them to stay in touch. I never knew him, and since I have a good relationship with my stepdad, I never really cared to. Fast forward to 2007. I end up going to college in a city near my mom's hometown. I ended up staying in the area. In 2015 I started working at a new job. This is where I met Mike. Mike and I really hit it off. He helped train me when I was starting out, and we became good friends. He was a bit older than me, but we had a lot in common, and things got pretty serious between us. In 2018, we started taking our relationship to the next level, and in early 2019 we moved in together. I got to meet his daughters, he's divorced, and we developed a good relationship. I was embraced by his entire family with open arms, and he proposed to me Christmas of 2020. I was thrilled. Now, I had yet to introduce Mike to my family. We were both busy and broke between 2018 to 2020. Then the world ended, and we both ended up losing our jobs at different points in the year. My stepdad is a high risk, so I've been hesitant to make the trip to my home state to visit, but we finally made the decision to do so a few weeks ago. We are all vaccinated, and both Mike and my parents are currently working from home. We get to my parents' house. I introduce Mike to my family. Stepdad and sisters are welcoming, but my mother looks like she's about to faint. I ask her what's wrong, and she takes me into the kitchen to talk. She starts grilling me about him, about his family. She then drops it on me. She recognizes him as her teenage sweetheart, her baby daddy. Mike was my biological father.
I think people who use neopronouns are fucking stupid. Why? Just why? No one in history has ever claimed to be oppressed, nor has fought for the cause of. My pronouns are bun/buns or dog/dog self or pup/pup self or cat/cat self. I'm sorry man, but no one. If you really think you want to go by God/God self, you have issues if you're over 14. I'm not even talking about stuff like face/fair, those seem mild. What I'm addressing here is people who simply like something and make it their whole identity. For example, the wiki fandom definition for pup gender, pup/pup self is when someone feels an especially close connection to canine creatures. Just. What the fuck? And ultimately, neopronouns erase the main reason pronouns even exist, to replace a noun into something more general. It's stupid. After a while, I definitely think I was being unnecessarily rude here, so I'm really sorry about that. Although contrary to some people's beliefs in the comments section, my life motto isn't actually everyone who is xenogender and uses neopronouns should die a painful death and burn in hell. I'm not actually running a political party based on putting a death penalty for using neopronouns, and I did not indeed type this out with a stupid face at 60 kilometers an hour simultaneously accidentally setting my fingers and keyboard on fire. I know, surprising. These were just my thoughts, and I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to voice them when I'm mad. Again, I do admit I did it wrongly in this post. I was very rude, but I still don't go out of my way to hack r/neopronouns or bully every person I see who uses neopronouns. I, like normal people, prefer to just leave them alone. I made this post after an argument. I'll try to edit it to make it more civil.
What's a minor confession you'd like to make today? I was staying in a hotel and brought a girl back. She said she was going to freshen up and gave me a wink. I heard the tap come on and thought she was planning on wrestling in the shower, so I burst in. She was having a shit and had turned on the tap to cover the noise.
I ruined my friend's life because we played Overwatch together. It was a normal day and me, 23 male, and my friend decided to hop on some Overwatch 2 for some fun. I played tank and my friend played support. We'll call him Ben, 24 male. So we get into our first game of competitive, and before I even load in, Ben's already on her. Moira, I thought it would be fine. I'm playing Zarya trying to capture point with my team, and I'm out of bubbles. I'm starting to lose health and needing heals desperately. I'm begging Ben to come heal me, but he's on the other side of point 1v1ing an entire Reinhardt. He is literally tickling the Rein with how low Moira's damage is. He acted like this the whole game, so obviously we lose. Oh well. GG go next. Right, the next game was the exact same, and I almost lost it. I told him, you better actually heal the team next game, or I'll promise you'll regret it. I'm so close to Silver 5, don't mess this up. And so our third and final game of the day began. What does he do? The exact same thing. He had a total of 1,768 healing in a 10-minute game on Moira, and 7,234 damage. He tried to act like it was our DZ's fault, and that he'd done all the damage. I lost it, and went straight to my phone to anonymously tell his girlfriend he was cheating on her with a 16-year-old. I even made fake Instagram DMs screenshot that everyone believed. She broke up with him and posted the screenshots online. Ben's friends were all disgusted and left him. He lost his job because the screenshots got to his boss and his parents became distant. I think maybe I took it too far, but I did warn him, so I can't feel sorry for him. I hope he learns to start healing on Moira.
I used to bully my disabled brother for years. I know this will get a lot of hate, and yes, I deserve it. I am not looking for any validation or forgiveness. I know I am a piece of human trash. I just need to get this out. I have a brother who is 2 years older than me. He has suffered from a condition since birth that forces him to be in a wheelchair anytime he is out of bed. He cannot use his arms that well either. We used to have a great relationship until I turned 11, and I really started resenting the amount of attention he took from my parents. And how much stress he put them under. I had to constantly help him, change him, feed him. I hated it. There was a few years in his life when he's so mean to my parents, and it really made me resent him more. I realize now that I had no right to judge him, and I will never know how difficult life is for him. I stopped hanging out with him and made more friends at school. I would tell my family all the fun I was having at school during dinner to make him feel bad. I started barely talking to him or acknowledge his presence. He would get frustrated to the point of tears to get my attention. It started escalating 2 years ago when I would purposely turn off the Wi-Fi and unplug the TV every time we had to leave the house so my brother could do nothing but sit in his wheelchair. I would purposely delete his favorite saved shows on the DVR. I would make fun of his speech. Push things just out of his reach. I would act disgusted when I had to change or bathe him. It always made him feel bad, and he would apologize. I made my own brother apologize for taking a dump. What the fuck is wrong with me? But my fucking saint of a brother never told my parents. And he never let me have it. 3 weeks ago, he was trying to talk to me non-stop, and I was just ignoring him. I got annoyed and wheeled him against his wishes to the backyard and placed him under an umbrella and went back inside. I fell asleep and realized I left him out there for 3 hours. When I went to bring him back inside, he was in tears and wouldn't look at me. He was humiliated. I've always felt guilty about how I treated my brother all these years, but my anger towards him overpowered it. But seeing that look on his face affected me in a way that was different from before. I stopped all the bullying after that day. I couldn't even look him in the face, I was so ashamed. Last Sunday my brother told me he was glad I was his brother and friend. I couldn't even respond. I went to my room and cried. I'm fucking crying again typing this all out. When did I become an evil trash human being? Fuck. I'm 17 and he's 19 now. I know there is nothing I can do to make up for the past 6 years. My brother will be returning with my mom from a specialist appointment tonight. I'm going to apologize to him and beg for his forgiveness tonight. I want to start being a fucking decent brother to him again. I am a healthy guy with no issues who chose to bully his only brother for something that wasn't even his fault. I am so ashamed of myself.
I let my family starve in order to buy more Valorant skins. I, 33 male, have been married for 6 years to my wife, 30 female, and we had a child 3 years ago, and now, we're barely getting by. With everything getting more and more expensive these days, it's hard for a low-income family like us to survive. My wife works a triple shift. She works part-time, she takes care of our child, and she does some cooking cleaning at home. I work extremely long hours all the time to support our household, sometimes even 13-hour shifts. When I get home, I need something to relieve the stress of how much I've worked and how tiring it is. That's when Valorant came in. It was such a fun game and I loved playing it after work, but my account had no skins. One day I lost it and began to spend hundreds of dollars on Valorant points to buy skins. I've now put in thousands of hours into this game, and I finally reached Silver 1. Yay! This, however, has affected my family. I began to stop working to play Valorant. My wife comes home from work crying because we don't have enough to buy food, and that we've had an empty fridge for 3 days, and for me to come off the game and go back to work. It's not just a game, it's Valorant, and it's my life now. I think my bank account is now at minus $100 now, because I bought the Reaver 2.0 bundle. I told her you're on your own if you can't accept my lifestyle choices. She didn't accept them, so I divorced and left them to pursue a Valorant esports career. I hope it goes well. I feel racist, but I have no clue what's going on. At school, one of my mates has a friend who is Asian, and we all jokingly call him Hong Se-yong from the Squid Game, and he is completely fine with it. He called himself it at first. Basically, as I was walking to class, I saw him just in school uniform without any accessories. That is important, and I called him Hong Se-yong, but he said to not call him that, which is weird cause I've said it before, and he was fine with it. At first break that day, I saw him again, but he was wearing a gold chain and had braces. I didn't take notice at the time, so I apologized to him and stuff, but he was clueless. Then it hit me. I called some other random person Hong Se-yong from the Squid Game. I felt so fucking embarrassed, and nobody knew what happened.
I unalived my husband 2 years ago. I'm not going to give a lot of context to this because of obvious reasons, but 2 years ago my husband outlived himself and I let him. The previous day, he and I were watching some Netflix show and having a great time. Our 2-year-old daughter, at the time, was asleep in bed. I asked him to go to the local gas station for some snacks. While he was gone, I looked at his phone. I don't know why I did, but I did. And in the recently deleted photos was something that I will never get out of my mind. Pictures of our daughter. No clothes. Facing away from the camera, thank fuck. I had only seen the pictures because of the recently deleted thumbnail. I had been sick earlier that day with a stomach bug and had asked my husband to watch our daughter so I could rest. One of many choices I'll never forgive myself for. I confronted him immediately when he got home. Lost my effing shit, called a friend to get me and my daughter, and packed a bag. After an entire sleepless night, I went back to the house to grab more of my and her things. I spent the better part of 3 hours arguing back and forth with him. It ended in an ultimatum from him. That if I left with our daughter and removed us fully from the family, he would unalive himself. I told him he'd better do it before I came back to finish the job myself. A couple days later I got the call from police who confirmed he had kept his word and unalived himself on a public trail less than a 5 minutes walk from our home. At the funeral, everyone kept asking why he would have done what he did, why I didn't see it coming, etc. I would do it all over again if I had to.
I slept with my brother. Help me. Okay, so there is a backstory to this. In high school I was very insecure about my gender and sexuality. So when I got to college I really explored cross-dressing and makeup because I was always scared to do so at home. By the end of my first semester I got really good at makeup and got very fit, and I finally got the courage to take pictures of myself. I went on Tinder where I could swipe on both men and women, and I noticed only men swiped with me. I liked that they showered me with compliments and wanted me physically, but I didn't really find them attractive. So I eventually went on Grindr and matched with a guy that was fit and I found half attractive. He made me get butterflies when texting and we finally agreed to hook up. It was purely a sexual relationship. I did not want to be out and he wanted to be discreet, so we were sex partners for 3 semesters before he graduated. After we were no longer a thing, I really didn't want to pursue men anymore because I really didn't like them to begin with, and although I find it fun to cross-dress, I realize now that I just really find women beautiful and wanted to feel wanted and crushed on like I have for the girls I like. So last summer I got really into lifting, put on newbie muscle gains and joined a fraternity in the fall. Through that I have made some good fraternity friends and friends of women in sororities. This was really good for me as it forced me to interact with women, which I was kind of scared to do. But it has been great because I actually get along great with women and have surprisingly a lot in common with many of my girlfriends. Then I met this girl who transferred from a different college, that she didn't do academically well at, and is turning things around now. We clicked instantly, and what I liked about her is she didn't take any BS and she was upfront about how she liked me and wanted to take me out. I have gotten that same feeling of being wanted from her, that I got from men. So at the end of this past fall semester we went on a couple dates and picked things back up in the spring. Now my current dilemma: I found in the middle of spring semester that her brother is the guy I was hooking up with my freshman and sophomore year. The week after the 4th of July I am supposed to meet her and her family in their 2-week vacation at their summer cabin, and I am literally sick to my stomach. I finally have figured out what a panic attack is and have thrown up multiple times just thinking about it. I honestly have no idea if he has realized who I am, as I was always in makeup and cross-dressed, but I am absolutely terrified. I told my girlfriend I loved her this past semester and we have already kind of made plans together post-college. I feel like I am trapped and I am not sleeping well and having panic attacks. I worry I will lose everything because I was stupid and immature and insecure about myself. If anyone finds out about me cross-dressing or hooking up with her brother, I might have to just end it. I really don't know what to do and I am terrified. Edit. I guess it will make you all happy to know that I dumped her. Bet you are all just so happy that my life is ruined and will be single forever.
I am 1.5 feet taller than my wife. So when I take a shower I make sure to set the shower head as high as possible. Then when she gets in she can't reach it to lower it and she has to call me in. So I get to see her naked. She has yet to realize that setting is too high for even me.
Being a 4 feet 11 inches male is absolutely brutal. I have short parents, 5 feet 5 inches and 4 feet 8 inches, so I expected to be short my whole life. I predicted around 5'5'6", then at age 16, I went to the doctor and was told I was just about done growing out of the blue. I was only around 4 feet 10 inches and 1/2, and was told that I'd get another inch or two max if I was lucky. I ended up growing only another ½ inch. I'm now 26 years old, male, white, and am exactly 4 feet 11 inches. I had no idea when I initially found out I was done growing how much of an impact height has on a person's life. As I got older and went to university, I got to learn how society treats very short men. Firsthand, I had so many hopes and dreams for my life that got completely squashed directly due to the fact that I'm 4 foot ducking 11. First of all, it's insanely embarrassing to be this short. Around normal-sized guys in general, whenever I hang out with my two best friends who are 5 feet 10 inches and 6 feet 2 inches, I feel so ducking small around them and it seriously bothers me. They've even mentioned they feel slightly uncomfortable having me around at times too due to me being so much shorter than them and them having to look down to talk to me and such. Anytime I have to interact with another people in person, my height usually becomes problematic as the average guy usually has around 10 to 12 inches on me. I've been to events and been in groups of guys where every guy in the conversation was 10 plus inches taller than me, and due to that I am often completely overlooked as a contributor in the conversation. It's ducking BS that whenever I talk with a group of normal-sized guys, they all have to look way down every single time I say something just to listen to me. It makes me feel like I'm their little brother. The same issue arises when they talk to me directly and I have to look way up at them, making me feel like a complete subhuman. I've started several successful businesses in the past, but at the business conferences I go to, everybody just assumes I have absolutely no knowledge or experience. It's impossible for me to have any sort of real status in the professional world and I'm often treated like a child by my colleagues. Being a man who is under 5 feet tall is one of the worst things that can happen to a person. Guys will make fun of your height and mock you behind your back. At 4 feet 11 inches, I'm bordering on actual midget height and people often ask me if I'm a legal midget or just very short. Average-sized guys will see a 4 feet 11 inches guy and talk about how damn short he is and laugh at him discreetly. One of the worst things about being my height is having to shop in the kids department for clothes that fit. At 4 feet 11 inches, 120 pounds, kids' large shirts fit me the best. Being a 26-year-old man who needs to shop in the kids department for clothes that fit properly is humiliating. I get stares and glances from other shoppers, and sometimes workers while I'm there. This experience is always a constant reminder that I'll never be the size of a real adult in my lifetime. I will live life at the height of an average 12-year-old boy. I'm not really looking for advice because I know I can't change it, so I will just focus on improving myself instead. But I just wanted to rant about the fact that being 4 feet 11 inches, as a guy has subjected me to a life of constant embarrassment, humiliation, and mockery. It's BS that I somehow ended up being a man under 5 feet tall. At 4 feet 11 inches, I'm 11 inches under average height for a male. As a result, whenever I hang out with average-sized people or pretty much anyone, I feel very short in comparison. I wouldn't wish this life on anyone.
I'm gay and my wife doesn't know. My wife and I have been together 9 years, married for 7. But I know that I'm gay. I've never been attracted to another woman other than her, but I've been attracted to lots of men. I've never been in a relationship with a man, but if I wasn't with my wife, I know I would be. My preferences when I'm by myself have only ever been over men. But it's strange, my wife is my soulmate in the most absolute sense. It doesn't matter that she's a woman. I'm so in love with her mind and her heart and her as a human being that she could literally be in any body and I would love and worship her. Even being with her in bed is incredible because it's her. I know this makes no sense and that's why I can tell her. She would think she isn't enough because she isn't a man. But she's the other half of my soul and I could never ever hurt her or be without her. I think every inch of her body is beautiful and she lights me up like no other human ever could.
She completes me and I know I won't need to be with anyone else, but I know no one will believe that. Is it possible to be gay except one woman? If so, that's what I am? I caught my sister effing her gay friend in my living room, and I am ashamed of what happened next. But I got back home after school 2 hours earlier. My teacher had an emergency, thanks God. I smoked at lunch, and I was sleepiest since then. I entered the house and I noticed my sister but didn't say hi immediately. I removed my shoes and answered some texts while walking slowly and with music on my AirPods. It lasted just a bit longer than a normal walk-in, but then I looked at them on the couch. Before that, I had only her presence in mind. My sister was in fact talking to me, but I couldn't hear. That's the first thing I noticed really. Then I finally noticed that she was seated on her effing friend. So ashamed. I think she started to yell. He didn't look at me, but I recognized his haircut and shape. It lasted a few seconds, but I am confident she was yelling at me, "Don't effing look." If I close my eyes I can remember that she was indeed seated on his dong. I saw her position. Booty spread but legs closed to hide it from me. I couldn't see that, but her skirt was probably lifted. Under this beauty that I always think she is, but with more sexiness now, her gay friend. I thought he was and learned to not judge never again. I'm not sure about this, but did I see his pants down on the floor? I can't remember. They moved to her bedroom an hour ago, and after what seemed like forever, the gay friend comes running out of the room. He ran towards me completely unclothed and finished on my face. I was in shock. I immediately got up and beat the living shit out of him. The more I tried to wipe off his nut from my face, the more it smeared. Worst day of my life.
I stole over $20,000 in a very creative way in the 90s. I worked at a fast food chain in the 90s when I was in high school. When I worked there, they were in the process of phasing out denominational gift certificates. $5, $10, and $25. The way it worked was if you spent more than half of the certificate, they gave you the cash back. So if you ordered $5.50 worth of food and gave them one of the $10 gift cards, they gave you the $4.50 back in cash. My manager was in charge of destroying all the existing certificates, as we transitioned to the more traditional credit card-looking gift cards. So my manager said he shredded the certificates like he was supposed to, but one night when I was closing, I found 2 boxes of the gift cards tucked deep in the dry storage room. They were filled with the certificates that were supposed to be shredded. So, I scooped them up, brought them out to the dumpster in trash bags and threw them away. After we closed, I came back and recovered the back, and brought the certificates home. I counted them. There were $1,025, $1,010, and $505 certificates. None of them had expiration dates. Total haul was $40,000 in fast food certificates. My manager never said a word, he couldn't. He had reported them destroyed weeks earlier. Over the next 3 years my girlfriend and I toured every location in our state and the next 4 states ordering food and getting the change. We never kept track on a spreadsheet or anything, but we got good at knowing what menu items were just about half. After the first year, we started saving the change in a shoebox and let it build up. I bought my first car for $7,800 cash from the change. And for some reason a kitty cone was $1.05. If you gave them a $5 certificate they gave you $3.95 back. We threw away a lot of kitty cones.
I just found out that my husband of 10 years has never loved me. My whole world is crashing right now. I never thought that this could happen to me. I am deeply in love with my husband and I thought he loved me too. My husband Sam and I met after college at a book club. We fell in love and married a year later right out of college. I honestly though that my life was a dream come true. He was kind and silly and he made me feel loved. I found out last week that my husband never loved me. I overheard Sam talking to his friend on FaceTime when he thought I couldn't hear. His friend was congratulating Sam on bagging me, because I'm loaded. That's not true. Though I make a decent living and my parents recently had some success in their business abroad, I don't make nearly enough to be considered wealthy, perhaps upper middle class at best. It's not like I can quit my job tomorrow and be set for life. I'm a finance analyst and make $300,000 working 70 hours a week. Sam is a customer service advisor for a bank and makes $50,000 working 35 hours a week. Sam then said that all his planning paid off and he'd live the easy life. His friend added that he couldn't imagine being married to me. Waking up to my face, I've never been very attractive. I'm very skinny and have a thin face and a wide nose. But Sam made me feel like the most beautiful woman in the world. Sam just laughed and said it's easy when you have the mindset. I pretended I didn't hear and went back upstairs and just lied in bed. I've been sleeping on the couch with the excuse of working late and not disturbing him. Every time I've woken up in our bed with him cuddling me, I don't feel loved, I feel used, I don't know what to do.
I love it when my husband has a bad day. Don't get me wrong, I wish every day is good for him, but when it's one of those crappy, dull days, unlike some people, he doesn't come home and shout, he doesn't slam around, he doesn't complain. He'll just walk through the door, drop his jacket and beeline straight for me. He'll practically jump on top of me and bury his face in my chest or down the side of my neck. I'll feel him readjusting himself until he's comfortable, take a few big sniffs, exhale and just sink into me. I'll rub his back and kiss his head. Sometimes we end up lying there for an hour or more, sometimes he falls asleep. I love hearing his breathing change, his heartbeat slow, hearing the quiet sounds he subconsciously makes when I scratch that perfect spot. I love feeling that hand dance up under my shirt and cup on, always with a small chuckle from both of us. I love tracing my hand around his back under his shirt, feeling every muscle as I whisper to him about my day. I love lying there smelling him. He'll claim he stinks after a long day at work, but to me, the smell is almost addictive, intoxicating. I'm a small woman, which makes this harder, but I'm willing to endure the wait just to enjoy those moments with him. I can't even explain how it makes me feel inside when I hear him taking those sniffs and feeling the tension leave his body. Nothing else matters in that moment. Nothing else makes me feel more like a woman and a wife.
I have a confession to make. Over lockdown, I think we all did some pretty effed up shit, but you're gonna seriously lose faith in humankind after hearing this. I was in my bedroom, and I was having a wank and decided I wanted to try and use lube to make it feel nicer, but this was at about 1 in the morning, so I couldn't leave my room to get anything in case I woke up my parents. But I remembered that I had dinner in my room and had extra spicy salsa. We had tacos, and I like spicy stuff, so I brought a bottle of salsa up to my room. I think you know where this is going. I slathered that salsa all over my hands, and about 5 squirts and 5 minutes later, I was crying and sweating as I did it, 'cause that she burned like you wouldn't believe. Eventually, I finished, and a F-ton came out since I had been building it up for about an hour. I then wondered what the salsa would taste like mixed with my nut. So I got some nut on my hand and poured some salsa on and then ate it. Then I realized my dingling was still covered in salsa, sweat, and nut, so I wiped it all off and ate all of it. The next day, I did the same thing with mayo and mustard. It tasted pretty good, so I decided that if I could make more of it, and sell it, then I could make a fortune. Every single day I wanked with different sauces to see which ones tasted the best. I mixed Chick-fil-A sauce and some of my salsa on my pee-pee as I wanked, and after the deed, I would make fried chicken sandwiches with them. It was a success. By the end of every day selling my concoction on the corner of the street, I would be sold out. Everybody would ask what my secret ingredient was, but I never told them. My secret ingredient is nut.
I caught my sister wanking with my favorite deodorant spray bottle. I entered the house, and I heard my name being moaned in the distance. Now I immediately assumed it was our African parrot who tends to do weird shit like that. He's been in Vietnam, so I didn't think too much of it. When I walked down the hallway, I saw my bedroom door was slightly open, and I heard some intense sexual sounds illuminating from inside. Think mac and cheese, so I pleasantly assumed I just simply forgot to pause the adult vid I watched before school for a quick rub and tug. So, I pulled my pee-pee out with a grandmaster plan. I'd wank until my limit and then walk in and nut all over the screen. So I did just that. I tugged so hard it felt like I was playing tug-o-war against my effing pelvis, and surely enough, I eventually felt my kids swimming up the stairs, and just as they reached the exit, I kicked open my bedroom door aiming a bullseye onto my computer screen. However, to my immediate shock and horror, I find my sister screaming my name while absolutely effing demolishing her badge. The whole effing counterclockwise action, and everything, juices flying everywhere. And the worst part? She was using my favorite, reserved for special occasions, limited edition Axe spray to do it. So anyways, I immediately started trying to suppress the streaming tsunami of semen about to effing erupt out of the tip of my penis, put up the wave blockers and everything, and I tried with every effing ounce and muscle of my body to stop it in its tracks, but it was too late, all attempts were futile. 7 belly shots ensued, all going at 70 miles per hour and effing obliterating the sound barrier. I'll spare you the details of what happened later, but honestly, I don't even know what to do anymore. Neither of us has told our parents, and we haven't even talked to each other since. What do I do? I've lied to everyone in my life for 20 years that I'm Jewish. I'm not Jewish, not even a little bit. If you ask me any questions about Judaism, I couldn't tell you, but still, everyone thinks I'm Jewish. It all started in high school, 11th grade. I had just moved from California to the South and it was a rough time. I was called every horrible name in the book because I talked different and got the poop beat out of me multiple times. Well, I slowly befriended some of the guys on the football team and my closest friend was the center. We'll call him Greg. Now Greg is a super chill guy compared to everyone around him, but he's still very racist and very open about all his opinions. Well, one day I'm driving Greg and a few other football players home from school and he makes a comment about synagogues. Without even thinking, I mentioned that I've been to one. And this is where it all started. This prompted one of the other guys to joke that I was a Jew, and trying to be chill, since these were the only friends I had, I went haha, yep, I'm Jewish. And then that's when it all went downhill. Greg told everyone on the football team how his new friend from California was a Jew, and they all believed it since most of them thought there were only Jews in California anyways. And the football players spread that to the rest of the school. At this point, I still thought it was a joke and everyone was just jokingly calling me Jewish, so I just kept going with it. Then I became known as the Jewish kid and started to actually become popular, since everyone wanted to be friends with the different kid, and the fact my dad had money, a lot compared to the poor area I went to school, so I could afford to buy nice things and people tend to be attracted towards that.
And so being Jewish almost became my identity, it became who I was. So whenever someone would ask my religion, I just automatically told them I was Jewish. Fast forward to the end of high school, and the counselors are walking people through scholarship stuff, and my counselor calls me into his office and hands me a slip for a $5,000 Jewish American scholarship. Now as soon as I read Jewish American scholarship, I was going to walk out and throw it out, but he made me sit down and fill it out with him, and then took it from me to submit it. I felt horrible for even doing it, but somewhat relieved when I heard that they only gave it to people who were also ethnically Jewish, so I knew I wouldn't get it. I got it. I received a letter in the mail saying I was chosen as the winner of this $5,000 scholarship. I got accepted to Dartmouth due to the fact I worked my butt off in high school and was the valedictorian, though my competition wasn't plentiful to say the least. But I never thought I would have been able to afford it, but this scholarship was huge in helping me towards that. I considered spilling everything then, declining the scholarship, telling everyone at school, telling almost every single form I've filled out, saying I'm not actually Jewish. I decided to tell my dad and ask him for advice as he's always been a guy you can talk to about anything whatsoever.
What do you want to confess that no one else in your real life knows? I did a 2-hour online test for college and we had to stay on camera for the whole 2 hours until everyone was done. The problem was I shit myself half an hour into the test and sat in my own shit not allowed to move, and if I did move everyone would see I shit myself. So I waited until everyone was done and got marks done and could turn off the cameras. I got 100% in the test. In my group of friends consisting of couples in deep relationships, I'm the only single guy. In fact, I don't think I've been in a committed relationship for more than 2 weeks. The idea of being part of a couple has always sounded exhausting, and it was something I never really worried about rushing into. I didn't truly realize how lonely I've been until one night playing beer pong. When I was on the same team with one of the ladies, she hugged me after I won the game for us. It didn't occur to me that since leaving home for college, those types of physical gestures that brought me comfort as a kid weren't always there for me anymore as an adult.
Today, my next door pregnant neighbor knocked on my door. Around 7 p.m. today, I heard some knocking on my door. I opened it and it was my next door pregnant neighbor. She was, I think, in her 7th or 8th month. She was holding a small plate in her hand. In a very shy voice, she asked me if I can give her some of whatever I was cooking because she liked the smell. I think pregnant women sometimes have strong cravings and they cannot resist it. Anyway, she was shy and apologized a lot for her request since we don't know each other. I laughed and told her it is okay, smile. I was cooking a traditional meal from my country and the recipe has olive oil, garlic, jalapenos and some spices. I think the smell was nice. I gave her some of my dinner, then she left. I watched her walking home like a cute little penguin who's happy with her successful little hunting. I felt really happy too for some reason.
What is your secret that could literally ruin your life if it came out? Background: I'm a guy in my late 20s who was taken into care aged 7. Everyone around me already knows that I was brought up by foster families because I had a shit early childhood. I deliberately keep it vague and say stuff like, I'd rather not go into it, so that people will just assume I was abused in some way and they'll stop asking about it. The truth is that for the first 7 years of my life, I was brought up as a girl by my psycho birth mother who really wanted a daughter and didn't let the snag of giving birth to a boy stop her from trying to raise one. She was a pretty successful professional in a legal field, not entirely sure what, and had me via anonymous sperm donor from a fertility clinic. She found out I was a boy at a late ultrasound and then moved across the country. Gave birth to me at home and continued to move about until I was 5 or so. It was just the two of us all my life. We had contact with other people, of course, but they rarely got very close. I had lots of friends, but was always supervised. I found out way after that my mother's strong puritanical Christianity was a lie she used to explain why she was so strict about me being private and never letting anyone see me get changed or anything. I just accepted all of this as fact, having never been told anything different. I was sent to a religious school for girls and had a really great childhood. I was a bit of a tomboy, and played with Lego and toy animals, rather than dolls and stuff, but that's not unusual and no one ever questioned I was a girl, even me. I knew about men and women, but had never really seen much of naked people. My mother never ever spoke to me about it, but I kinda had the impression that when I grew up and got boobs and stuff, my dick would kinda fall off or something and I would be a woman, and other kids would keep their dicks and they'd be men. I dunno, to be honest, I never really thought about it. Anyway, I carried on with my happy girlhood, and had a bunch of friends and everything was great until I was 7 and a teacher accidentally spilled a cup of hot coffee over me at school. The liquid soaked through my clothes and was scalding me, so the staff immediately stripped me out of my dress and underwear to get the hot coffee away from my skin. And then they found out. The cops were called and I got taken to speak with who I guess would be social services. They asked me a bunch of questions about life at home and stuff. Meanwhile, my mother was taken in for questioning too. She refused to acknowledge me as male and insisted I was her daughter. Because she was, delusional and stuff, I wasn't allowed to go back home but got put with a foster family and went through loads of therapy and stuff. The worst part was that literally overnight, I lost everything. My mother, my home, all my toys, all my clothes. I moved school, so lost all my friends. They cut all my hair off and told me I wasn't a girl anymore. It was really traumatic. The first foster home wasn't that great. They had 3 boys already, and going from a sheltered, religious, only child upbringing to a rough and tumble testosterone-filled environment was really difficult. They tried to force me to be masculine and I was just too confused about what they wanted. Anything girly was reprimanded and I felt so lost and alone because nothing I did was right. I tried to off myself when I was 11 and again at 13 because I didn't feel I fitted in anywhere. After the second attempt, they moved me to a different foster family who were awesome. I consider them to be my parents. They actually stood up for me. The first thing was that they let me grow my hair. From when I got taken into care, they buzzed my hair short, and I hated it. They always had to hold me down and do it forcibly while I was crying and fighting. My new parents flatly refused to do it and said that loads of boys had long hair. They also let me quit karate and football and take up swimming and jazz dance. Since I'd been in care, no one had ever stood up for my right to choose what activities to do, or how to dress before. It was amazing. In the end, I came out of it with a pretty healthy gender identity. I'm a guy, but not the most butch guy ever, but I'm fine with that. I went through school and got my degree and have a pretty good job and an amazing, supportive wife. Everything looks great. But I can never speak about my early childhood, and how I grow up as a little girl.
I manipulate people into falling for me. I don't know how to stop. I'm a male, recently turned 18. I know I'm young, but I'm worried this is rooted deep inside me. This whole ordeal has happened 3 times already. I just need to get this off my chest. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Don't hesitate to be mean, or whatever. It all starts when I find someone attractive. They can be of any gender, any appearance. Varying in age, but always older than me. A common quality they all share, however, is that they seemingly don't pay any attention to me at all. Cold and distant people especially. Which is fine, of course. People have different tastes. But the fact that they are so uninterested in me makes me want to chase them even more. I'll start by observing and analyzing them. Based on that, I'll charm my way into their focus point. Or try to, anyway. The harder I have to try to convince them they like me, the stronger my attraction. Slowly but surely, they come around. We get closer, and eventually we start dating. Or hooking up, that works too. At this point, I'm still unaware I'm manipulating them, and convinced I'm genuinely in love. They want to build a relationship. We start to get to know each other. Well, I'll mostly get to know them. But I'll feel guilty as they're telling me all these things they've been through. I awkwardly dump some traumatic memories on them as a compromise. This somehow brings us closer. The relationship is starting to get serious, but in my head, things start to go downhill. I start a cycle of push and pull. Why? No idea. But they're persistent and loyal as they're convinced they love me. This should be some kind of moment of clarity for me, right? Wow, they love me that much that they'll put up with my waffle? Must be true love. But all it does is scare the life out of me. I'll find someone new who seems disinterested in me, and start doing the whole thing over with this new victim. All while I'm still with my original partner. I'll cheat, don't tell anyone about it, and turn the guilt into twisted affection for my new partner. I don't do this consciously. It all happens automatically. By that I don't mean like, oh, it's all automated, I am not to blame. The fact that I do this without thinking makes it so much worse. I realize what I'm doing when it's too late to reverse. All I can do is apologize, and I always do. But the guilt never leaves, and I deserve that. I don't know how to stop. I did a bit of research, and apparently my attachment style is fearful avoidant, aka disorganized or something. And yeah, I had bad parents, but so does everyone else. I'm an adult now. The whole hot and cold, push and pull thing is exhausting. I don't mean to cause anyone any harm. Sorry for the long rant, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
My girlfriend of 2 years was actually my sister. When I was born, my parents were unfit to raise me. I was put up for adoption at a very young age. I was luckily adopted by a loving family. When I turned 25, I started working at a moving company. My partner was a 22-year-old girl. We started dating. During this time I met my girlfriend's parents. We actually were very similar. We did a ski trip together and really bonded. We dated for 2 years. Around that time, my biological parents reached out to the agency to meet me. The agency reached out to me and asked if I wanted to meet my biological parents. I told them yes. I was nervous, so I asked my girlfriend to come with me. We went inside to the agency. They had a dining hall which we met in. We went inside and I saw my girlfriend's parents sitting there. I was confused. The helper lady standing there then said, "I'll let you guys talk." Gotta say, one of the weirdest moments of my life. After some debate, the agency said there wasn't a mix-up. My biological parents put me up for adoption because they weren't fit to parent me. Then, a few years later, had another child to keep. That was my sister/girlfriend. We both stayed in the same area and even attended the same school. Somehow also going to work for the same moving company. Probably a 1 in a billion. That is one scar that will never leave my soul.
I made a mistake. I was down bad and hooked up with a married woman. I hooked up with a woman I met at a bar last weekend. I'm not normally into the one-night stand thing or hookup culture, but I was down bad and she was hot. Well, we went back to her place and did the deed. And after we were done, I took a shower and was getting dressed when she says to me, "You need to hurry, my husband just texted me, and he's going to be here soon." I was shocked because she said nothing about being married. I said, "You have a husband? What the flip?" She seemed shocked and said, "Is it a problem for you?" I said yes, and even though we exchanged numbers, that I didn't want to see her again. Well, on Monday, I searched her name on Facebook, found her husband, and sent him a quick message. I told him that we hooked up last weekend and that she wasn't wearing a ring, and I didn't know she was married, and we'd done the deed in his bed. And that she told me after. I told him I was very sorry, and if I had known, I never would have slept with her, and he's welcome to punch me out if he sees me. He messaged me back and said he had a feeling she's been sleeping around, and that he appreciated me telling him, and that because I didn't know, he's not upset with me. He said he's going to confront her in a couple of days. Today, she texted me and was angry that I told her husband and that he's filing for divorce. I texted back, "Is that a problem for you?" And she has not responded. I still feel bad, but I'm glad I told her husband. It felt like the right thing to do, and if I were him, I would want to know. I just threw my autistic son of 30 years onto the street. No regrets. He is mid-high functioning. In middle school, he was, I would say, about above average. He was a math prodigy, made up his own language, aced his classes, and was a whiz, although socially stunted. Then puberty hit, he stopped going outside, and he started destroying his and me and the wife's property. We loved him enough to let it slide though, and he lived with us, along with the occasional stay at a psych ward. Yesterday, he killed our family cat after having a meltdown, due to us trying to take his computer away after me and my wife caught him looking at anime adult videos where there were in fact no adults. He threw my prized high school football trophy, wherein I won state, at the poor thing, causing its skull to split and its brains to spill out. I just about had it with them, wailed on them, threw him on the curb, and tossed his computers and gaming systems with him and told him if he ever came back, I would kill him. Haven't seen him since. I poked a hole in protection and purposefully got a girl pregnant to prove I wasn't gay. This was the late 80s, and I was 14/15, and things weren't a great time to be a gay teenager. Not that it excuses what I did. I was so afraid of being outed that I started a relationship with my then best friend's sister. My friends were constantly messing with me about not having slept with her and calling me gay. They were just joking, but I took it so seriously that I convinced her to do the deed. And I poked a hole in the protection, hoping to get her pregnant so that I'd have proof. She did end up pregnant, and when I found out the reality of what I did really hit me. She just thought the protection didn't work, and I never told her I did it on purpose. She was forced to go to an alternative school, and eventually dropped out to have the baby. Her and her family moved away with the baby, and I never kept in contact with them. I've always felt like a boss for ruining her life and abandoning my kid. I am a horrible father. I managed to find me and my son a place to stay after being in a homeless shelter for 3 months. He keeps thanking me every chance he gets, and it breaks my heart. No kid should go through all that, and I don't deserve a pat on the back for providing the bare minimum for him. The last 2 years took everything from us, and the past couple of months have been really testing. I have been working every single day to save up for renting a place, and I still cannot believe that we are moving in. Spending Christmas at a shelter was so defeating, but my little man took it like a real champ. He never once asked for anything at all. I am beyond grateful that he was not taken away from me. His mom left us when he was 2, and he is the only thing that keeps me alive. I will move mountains to make sure the rest of his childhood is the best. I missed the 2020 lockdown. I know some people hated it and went through a lot, but honestly, for me, it was so fun. And it's an era I'll always miss. Hearing that we had a week off school was so exciting, and then it turned into months off. It was just so relaxing to have no responsibilities for months. All the memes coming out, playing new games online with friends all day, FaceTiming people, and everyone beginning to do classes online was such a fun experience that most people went through. I know this sounds very inconsiderate and self-centered, but honestly, that's how I felt about it. I work at Arby's. We don't actually work, but instead eat the food and pretend we're closed. So basically, the Arby's I work for is corrupt. All the employees don't give a flip about the job. Anyways, whenever we work, the assistant manager, who's 26 and really fat, like 300 pounds, will lock all the doors during night shift, blast music through the store, bake 20 cookies, make ice cream sandwiches for us and say, "Guys, just have a feast." He lets us make whatever we want, and doesn't care. Like, I kid you not, once he made us a whole bag of chicken tenders and fries, and we turned the lights off in the Arby's and just ate and went on our phones and put a sign on the drive-thru entrance saying some BS, like we were closed. Ignored the drive-thru and sat around. He doesn't give a flip what we do. Even let some employee go home, but stayed clock in and clocked out for him at 11 p.m., which is when we leave. He eats a flip ton too. He made a chicken sandwich for himself, 3 sliders, a roast beef sandwich, a ton of fries, and some wings, apple turnovers, and 2 different kinds of milkshakes, and just brought out his laptop and watched some movie. I'm a 33-year-old male virgin, and I'm too afraid to tell anyone. Well, my dad is the only one I told, and he tried to help me out about 10 years ago. I don't want to tell anyone close to me, since today's society will mock me for it. I'm a 28-year-old man who made an OnlyFans showing off my feet and pretending to be a woman. I'm a pretty small dude, and my feet are size 9, so when I wax them, lotion them, and paint my nails, my feet look very feminine. I take pictures and video of them in different scenarios and situations doing different things, trying to be vague so people don't figure out I'm not a girl. I actually have a decent following and have been making a good amount of money so far, but obviously, the money would stop if people figured out these are men's feet. My son wakes up to the flipping American Dad theme song every flipping single day. Every day my son, 14 male, wakes up at 7 a.m. to the American Dad theme song every single flipping day. I can't take it anymore. It's driving me insane. It's driving his siblings insane. He set his alarm tone to the song, and I just can't take it anymore. Me and my wife's bedroom is right next to his. We hear it every morning at the flipping crack of dawn.
Morning USA. I got a feeling that it's gonna be a wonderful day.
Can someone please give me advice to stop this? I exaggerate about my essay because I'm afraid people won't take it seriously if I tell it exactly how it happened. Title: Pretty much. I was SA'd by my then girlfriend some time ago, and it hurt me a lot. It made me understand a type of pain I had never felt before in my life. A type of guilt. Not only was a heinous act committed, and my own body is the evidence, it was committed by someone whom I trusted. My consent, something I thought was ironclad, was taken away from me for the first time in my life. I have shared the details with a handful of people before, and sometimes I tell them I cried, I didn't, it froze completely, or things like that. The first person I told about it was a girl I had dated. She proceeded to tell me I'm a flipping puss and don't get to complain because it wasn't bad enough. I thought women were supportive and someone, especially a girl, would understand what it feels like to have your consent and voice stripped away, but she berated me and told me I didn't deserve to speak about my pain. Ever since then I exaggerate a little about my experience, because I feel like deep inside, I'm the only one who takes it seriously.